Yo, DJL7 out here, and today we're going to talk about the weed regulation and the failing. Right, there's so many stores that are, weed dispensaries that are closing here in New York City and across actually the nation. But let's focus on New York because that's really where I'm running for office. I'd leave for New York State Assembly 36 is store in Long Island City. There's quite a few dispensaries in this particular community. So this is a good example of, I would say actually, right, I could say socialism gone wrong, but actually, I think there's kind of a balanced approach that kind of should be incorporated here. So the thing is that I appreciate the socialists, which kind of actually a lot of libertarians too, they're not socialists. We're involved in this particular fight, right? But the thing is that right now there's a lot of regulations inside of the weed business, such as you have to, if you own a retail store, you're not allowed to grow your own special brand of weed and sell it out of your store. So I can't be like, oh look, DJL7 store, the weed dispensary, and we got our special DJL7 weed that we grow. It's our special, special strain that we've developed that our customers like, right? It's like a big hit. We're not allowed to have any, all the dispensaries are not allowed to have any unique products. They have to completely keep separate the growers from the retailers. And I respect having, I think it was well meant. And there's definitely concerns there as in terms of keeping someone from monopolizing the entire supply chain. That is a good concern, but right now we could see that the whole entire industry is falling apart. So, I think it's time for us to kind of revisit this issue. There's been a lot of money invested in this particular, line. And I don't really feel like, I know there's some people who don't like weed, and I get that, but, does it need to be criminalized? I don't think so. And there's a lot of people who use it without serious problems, right? So there's a lot of denial going on as well, too. But I think it should be legalized, and I think it should be doing better than it is right now. Right now, the whole market's falling apart. So there's the idea that it's a commodity, but some commodities can be doing good business, right? Once again, food is a commodity, right? But there is fine dining, right? So, and if there's a certain type of cookie that tastes a certain way, then that cookie could be a big hit, right? Even though there's another cookie that is basically the same ingredients, but has been prepared with the right, care, or maybe some of the ingredients have been substituted, right? Instead of using olive oil, they use, peanut oil or something like that. It's possible that they try to cut costs, and it affects the flavor and the taste. And, it really should be a mix of the things, right? It could also be customer service, things like that. But right now, the weed business is really in a tailspin. Prices are dropping like crazy, and the promise of that particular industry hasn't panned out. And there's a lot of investors who are getting smashed and crushed. And to tell you the truth, the savings aren't really being seen by a lot of the customers down below, because the dispensaries are still kind of I see online ads for ounces for $15-20, something like that. But locally, the cheapest price I've been able to find is $85 for an ounce. Why can't I get weed for $20 an ounce? You know what I mean? What is this? So I think it's time for some, the other players need to be able to get in. They made some other barriers to entry, like they said, you have to be previously convicted of a felony to enter the market, stuff like that. But the market's falling through. So that's what I got to say about that. I'll be in contact with some of my local dispensaries, and honestly some even Democrat, I think what's his name, Chris Marte, his brother, I think owns Con Bud or something like that. So I'll be in contact with him and his people. A lot of people around him trying to shut me out, like Youth Against Displacement. It's real sad. The socialists have gotten kind of involved and gotten the grimy hands on the business. I'm not saying that he shouldn't work with them, but he shouldn't let them cut me out. It's okay for him to be part of the movement. It's not okay for them to replace us, right? So stop the gentrification of the activism. That's what's up. That's it.